Welcome back, Frill Nation, to a very spooky episode of OK Bloomer. Halloween is the best time of year. No one judges you for buying giant bags of candy, you get dolled up and normies don't act stupid in your face, and it's a good excuse to try out a coordinate with a little more edge to it. The other thing that I like about Halloween is scary stories and movies. I have a tradition every year of movies that I always watch at this time. Hellraiser 1 and 2. If I can find it somewhere streaming, I watch Pumpkinhead, Tales of the Crypt Demon Knight, on Elm Street. I was gonna say Nightmare Before Christmas. That's a good one too, although it's a little gentle for what I'm usually going for. Do I scare the hell out of myself doing this? Yeah. Yeah, actually. Especially when I start reading creepypasta, I get downright terrified. So it's, what are you doing? You know? But whatever, too late. That's part of the fun for me, is to lay awake half the night and swear to God that you heard a weird noise and it's probably a murder clown. Anyway, instead of reading horror stories this weekend, I thought I could share one with you instead. Tonight's horror story, for the approval of the Midnight Society, is called The Tale of the Tearing Shoes. Once upon a time, a young lady decided that she was going to buy some shoes directly from Baby the Stars Shine Bright. Specifically, the shoes she was buying were the strawberry cake shoes in brown in a size 24.5. And they were a very cute design, sort of a simple rounded toe and a flat fit with a strawberry and heart pattern and contrasting colors running across the top of the foot. She tried them on, walked around, and they fit great. Or so she thought. She later went on to wear the shoes to a meetup to show them off with her coordinate. And it was then that disaster struck. The shoe material ripped away from where it was sewn, meaning it would no longer stay on her foot. The toes were scuffed and ripped as if she'd gone around kicking walls for fun, with far more damage than you see on most shoes worn for years. And the edges of the straps were frayed as if she'd scratched at them with an emery board. The real horror here is that she bought these new and paid damn near $200 for these shoes for them to only last for a few hours. She emailed Baby, and it gets worse. She explained that the shoes had only been worn for a few hours with minimal walking. The soles of the shoes looked brand new, despite the 1,000 years worth of damage to the top. She didn't request a refund or any such thing, just her dismay at their commission for a few hours of wear. Baby responded, and I quote, "Dear Amy, thank you for your email and for sending photos. Our staffs also used the same shoes for more than 1 year, but it had never gotten the damage like your shoes, and we had never received the claims from other customers. The material of this shoes is very delicate, and we need to pay attention when we use it. As for the torn strap part, it occurs when the shoes is too small for the user. Unfortunately, we suppose that your feet are too thick for this size. All we can do is to ask you to refrain from purchasing our shoes after this. We feel very sorry for this matter. Thank you." Bruh. Now, Baby was long infamous for trash international customer service. You basically didn't complain to Baby about anything, even if in lieu of your actual order they just sent you a drawing of a soba giving you the double bird. If you did, you got the dreaded blacklist. I think it was because Baby never really wanted to sell internationally, be it dealing with the hassle of the dreaded entitled American consumer, or just not wanting to go through the rigmarole, keeping Lolita fashion private and localized to Japan. So stories of Baby blacklisting people for the smallest infraction, even if it was not paying an invoice they never received on an order they made, were horrifically common in the beginning. Baby was very resistant to overseas customers for a long time. I mean, they'd only accept international bank transfer, for fuck's sake. Our tragic shoe heroine slapped back at Baby for their rude email, saying she would be alerting the overseas community to their customer service practices, and she would not be buying from them again. In the original email, we can suggest it was a language barrier and cultural problem. American shopping culture, customer is always right, blah blah, never their fault when something doesn't fit, it's American culture. It's not global. All you have to do to see the difference in shopping culture is look at the Kelly Eden story, where the silly bitch didn't carry a decimal correctly and bought a $1,000 dress and had to immediately return it, which they begrudgingly let her do, even though it went against standard company policy. I'm having a retail flashback. So then, because Baby doesn't tolerate nonsense, they replied to her email clapback. The shoe size might be different according to the design. We suppose that such a damage will not be gotten if it doesn't rub strongly against something. We're sorry, but we cannot take the responsibility for the damage caused by customers' method of using. If we have received a lot of similar complaints from other guests, we think that this case should take the consequences by us. But we have never received the same complaint from other customers. If you wish to threaten us, you should write anything you want freely on the community site, but if it includes the contents that apply to the discredit to us, we must sue you. We feel very sorry that you are doing an unjustified demand to us very much. So she threatened to complain to the international community, and they responded, fuck around and find out. Although, really, as long as she's not saying anything super slanderous, like Sana threatened to kick my dog or something like that, they can't do too much. And is baby really gonna drop lawyer money over $200 shoes? To be fair, I don't know a lot about Japanese business culture and retail culture, except that they have certain standards that they stick to. Finally, cool heads do occasionally prevail in the community at large, and this commenter made an excellent point. I'm reading it again, and I'm just thinking that it sounds so bad because it's probably from Google Translate. I don't actually think they mean any harm, but if you are writing your complaints in English and they are using Google Translate to decipher it, your complaint probably came off a lot harsher than intended, and it's probably a huge, huge misunderstanding. If you can, you should ask a friend fluent in business Japanese to craft you a private letter so you can get a refund. It's definitely not common Japanese business practice to give you bad goods, but I think you probably got the negotiation the wrong way around by posting the bad review publicly. You basically locked yourself out of a private settlement and you're pushing them to lose face, and if they apologize to you now, it makes them seem easily pushed around so they can't apologize. I really think this is all a huge cultural misunderstanding between both parties. Business practice is not the same worldwide, and the best method of excitement is not always coming out publicly. Some of the comments regarding freedom of speech and stuff is definitely American bias, and like all of the world does not equal America. She was upset. They were upset. She was upset. Replied, dude, it's not our fault. Your shoes got fucked up. No one else has had an issue. If they did, we'd be willing to do something. Basically, user error, retail culture clash, and also, yeah, Sana, who was her main international customer service person at the time, was kind of just notorious for being a bitch. Be it through her actual attitude or Google Translate issues, which is not perfect, and still isn't, and definitely wasn't then, it's easy to see how a simple issue can blow up in such a way. And reading their original email too, you get a total, how dare you, are you kidding me, I've spent so much money with you guys, I'm never coming back here again. Like, you get very hair trigger on it and decide that you're done. But their words aren't meant unkindly. It's a position of where they set the blame, and again, this could have been muddled through a translation. Imagine if the email was more like this. Thank you for your email and photos. We are surprised as our staff has worn the same style of shoe for well over a year, as well as it being a popular shoe with shoppers, and we haven't heard of this happening before. These shoes are somewhat delicate in construction, and it is possible that our 24.5 of this style runs a little small compared to the fit you're used to. While there is nothing we can do at this time, we are apologetic and hope you find our other products much more enjoyable. It's still not great, but it cuts out the blame on the customer mostly and also shows sympathy. But granted, I am writing this as a native English speaker who has worked in retail, and I kind of understand the language to use. I am sure if I filtered this through Google Translate into Japanese and then back into English, whatever I had to do, it would not come off as eloquent. It's difficult to address any customer issue through a retail culture and a language barrier. Now, in the case of the shoes, why I think they failed is potentially just a bad needle in the machine. When you sew through pleather and leather-like material, it isn't like fabric where the needle is moving threads aside to weave your stitching thread through it. It's stabbing essentially through plastic or skin-like texture. So the material can't heal back and it loses some of its integrity around the stitch holes. If the person who was sewing these specific shoes had been sewing multiple pairs for a while, the needle head had probably started to wear down and started to blunt instead of being nice and sharp. The sharper the head of a needle is, the more easily it can pierce through material with the less damage done overall to the integrity. So it's very likely that this needle had been worn down significantly to the point where it was ready to be changed, and they were just kind of putting it off for one more pair of shoes. And the holes were just a little bit too big to maintain the integrity of the material, and that's why they would have ripped. That combined with maybe material cut from near a selvage edge, or even just flawed material overall. If she lives in a humid area. The story came out in about July of 2011, and depending on where she's at, if she's in the northern hemisphere, there's generally a lot of heat and humidity, especially in certain parts of the US, and that does rapidly age pleather and pleather-like materials. You see it all the time on brand bags. Japan is actually at the same parallel as the state of Michigan, which is where I live. And so when you see deterioration of plastics, it's in Japanese items, you can kind of see how you would get that same deterioration in US items that are in the Midwest, especially during Midwest summers. They're hot and humid, they're not as hot as California summers or Arizona summers, which may lead to further degradation, or even Hawaii, which very humid and pretty consistently warm year round. So you can see how the material would start to break down and degrade even before it had even been worn. Because it's not like wearing an item suddenly causes damage to it. It's always degrading at all times. And occasionally you just get a bad item. A jacket can have the zipper come apart, hard drives fail unexpectedly in computers, you get earrings where one comes in missing the post backing. It happens, sometimes it's just bad luck. Since that day, however, Baby's construction and quality has seemed to go up significantly. I actually own several pair of shoes by Baby, specifically the antique ribbon style, and honestly, they're pretty freaking comfortable. And I have wide, flat feet. I don't wear heels a lot because they're not super comfortable for me. I prefer flats. So when I do wear heels, like, it hurts. And, you know, I'm in pretty bad shape after even a couple of hours. But I wore a pair of antique ribbon shoes around at a convention, and yeah, they were super comfortable. I was running all over the place, no issues. They didn't even really get scuffed up or anything. So after wearing one pair and being like, yeah, these are great, I've been kind of on the hunt for additional pairs ever since, so that I have some for everything. I'm also surprised that they fit me okay, because like I said, I do have wide feet. Like, typically when I buy shoes, if I can, I do order an 8.5 wide, and yeah, they fit great. Sometimes I get a lot of pinching across the wide part of the foot in American made shoes, and I don't get those with the antique ribbon shoes, so it's 10 out of 10. They're a good buy. I do recommend buying brand shoes secondhand, obviously. They are still made out of pleather materials for the majority of them, and pleather, as we see, does degrade over time, and despite the fact that they are very comfortable and they are super cute, I can't justify spending $200 on shoes that I don't wear that often. I haven't even worn Lolita that often this year because of everything that's gone down, so yeah, I cannot justify the expense, and I'd rather just buy, you know, shoes that have been a little bit beat up, or, you know, maybe just need a good clean out. I'd rather just buy them secondhand, clean them up myself, and have a cute shoe for a great price. And that's what I recommend to do overall, for sure, especially in this fashion. Find some good secondhand shops. You've got Wonderwelt, you got Closet Child, you've got Lace Market, you've got Mercari, you got Frill, you got Depop, and just use that. Use a translator or shopping service, and you'll save quite a bit of money really investing into this fashion. Thank you for taking this eerie trip down memory lane with me. I hope the story of these shoes and Baby's once horrific customer service doesn't haunt your thoughts as you go to sleep. Whatever you plan to do for Halloween, if you choose to celebrate, please do so safely. I myself will probably be having a horror marathon, as I am so apt to do, and yeah, then probably sleeping with all the lights on. Like and subscribe for more content. This is a rare occasion where I'm actually able to upload twice in 1 month, so that's pretty nice. I try to keep it to at least once a month. I do have a lot of eggs in the basket at all times, so it is a little difficult to always consistently find time to film and edit, but, you know, I'm doing my best. We're all doing our best here, so get off my dick about it. No one's really been on my dick, but that's a preemptive get off my dick. Have you had any bad luck with brand pieces that you bought new, or Baby's customer service? Are you still on the infamous blacklist? Sana no longer works for them as far as I can tell. Their customer service has improved greatly. I think the most common issue people are having right now is either that items aren't measured correctly, so they don't fit like they should, or of course the most recent where Angelic Pretty's servers crashed due to a pre-order panic. And scary for some, fine for others. Thank you for watching, and have a great rest of your night.
In the regular world, Halloween is when children dress up in costumes and beg for candy. In girl world, Halloween is the one night a year when a girl can dress like a total slut and no other girls can say anything about it.
Hopefully you don't hear too much background noise.
Oh, sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt.
It's okay.
I saw the door slightly open and the light off, and it was like, You're going for mood lighting?
Yeah, make it spoopy. It could be darker. It's not perfect, but it's mostly I just wanted the candle effect from the go.
Ah.
Which it is doing that pretty well. So
Yeah. Sorry to
nah.
probably gonna cause you lots of extra editing, aren't I?
No, I'll just go back and then I can just boop boop cut this out.